Imagine a frontier so wild that the government said, "We need a special force that can ride anywhere, enforce any law, and handle any threat." On November 24th, 1835, 10 men accepted that impossible mission. Stay with me to discover how this small group became America's most legendary law enforcement agency and created the blueprint for every ranger, marshal, and lawman that followed. It's 1835, and Texas has a problem. Actually, Texas has many issues. The territory is massive, larger than France. It's barely governed. Hostile raids are constant. Outlaws roam freely. Settlers are terrified. And the Mexican army, which still claims Texas, could attack at any moment. The Provisional Government of Texas realizes it needs something different. Not a traditional army that stays in forts. Not local sheriffs who only patrol their towns. They need something in between. Something mobile. Something fearless. On November 24th, 1835, they created it, the Texas Rangers. Just 10 men initially. Their mission? Impossible and straightforward at the same time. Protect 268,000 square miles of frontier with whatever means necessary. Here's what makes the Rangers different from any law enforcement that came before. They have no uniforms, no standardized equipment, no barracks. Each Ranger provides his own horse, his own weapons, his own supplies. They're told to range across Texas, which means go wherever trouble is and handle it. And they need to handle a lot. Comanche raids, outlaw gangs, border disputes, land fraud, cattle rustling. The Rangers become experts at tracking across hundreds of miles of harsh terrain. They learn to survive on almost nothing. They develop a reputation for being tougher than anyone they chase. The early Rangers aren't desk warriors. These are men like Samuel Hamilton Walker, who survives multiple shootouts and helps design the famous Walker Colt revolver specifically for Ranger use. Or Jack Hayes, who becomes a Ranger captain at just 23 years old and earns such respect from both allies and enemies that the Comanche call him Devil Jack. Here's a moment that defines what the Rangers become. In 1840, a group of 15 Rangers under Jack Hayes encountered about 80 Comanche warriors. By every military standard, they should retreat. Instead, Hayes and his men, armed with the new Colt revolvers that let them fire multiple shots without reloading, charged directly at the superior force. They win the battle. This creates the legend. One Ranger equals one problem solved. The saying becomes, one riot, one Ranger. Whether it's true or a myth doesn't matter. People believe it. And when people think you're unstoppable, you become invincible. By the 1840s, the Rangers had become a crucial part of the Mexican-American War. They become scouts, spies, and guerrilla fighters. General Zachary Taylor calls them the best troops in the world for such service. But they're so fierce and independent that when the war ends, the U.S. Army is actually relieved to see them go home. After the Civil War, the Rangers reorganize and face new challenges: bank robbers, train robbers, feuding families. The famous outlaws Sam Bass, John Wesley Hardin, Bonnie and Clyde, all eventually face the Texas Rangers. Some escape. Most don't. But here's what's really remarkable about the Rangers. They don't just enforce the law. They help create the mythology of American law enforcement. The idea of the lone lawman riding into danger. The marshal who stands against impossible odds. The Ranger who always gets his man. Every Western movie, every cowboy hero, every tough but fair lawman in American culture traces back to these original Rangers. The badge itself becomes iconic. A 5-peso coin hammered into a 5-pointed star, cut from a Mexican silver coin. Simple, powerful, recognizable anywhere. Today, that badge is one of the most respected symbols in law enforcement. The Rangers evolve with the times. They investigate major crimes. They use forensic science. They work with computers and DNA evidence. But the core mission remains the same as it was on November 24th, 1835. Go where you're needed, handle what others can't, and never give up. Today, there are only about 150 active Texas Rangers. In a state of nearly 30 million people, that's still a tiny force. But the legend? The legend is massive because it's built on almost 200 years of courage, determination, and a willingness to ride into the impossible. 10 men, one enormous territory, one simple mission: protect people who couldn't defend themselves. That's all it took to create a legend that has lasted nearly 2 centuries. What would you do if someone handed you an impossible mission? When have you had to step up when no one else would? Drop your story in the comments below. Every legend starts with someone willing to try. And here's something to think about. Every family has its own rangers, the people who stepped up when things got hard, the ones who protected others, the relatives who rode into their own impossible situations and didn't back down. Do you know who those people in your family were? What courage did they show that deserves to be remembered? Please share a story about someone in your family who was a ranger in their own way. Let's honor the everyday heroes in our family histories. If you love discovering the origins of American legends, if stories of courage and determination speak to your soul, then you're part of the History Sparks family. Hit that subscribe button and ring the bell because we bring you a new incredible story every single day. Stories that prove ordinary people with extraordinary courage can change everything. Tomorrow, we're uncovering another moment when a small group of brave people faced impossible odds and changed history forever. Until then, stay courageous, stay curious, and remember, legends aren't born. They're made by people willing to ride toward the challenge instead of away from it.